Jay Salmon couldn't make it in Uvu, so we unfortunately are missing him today, which gives us a little bit more time. We'll keep our agenda. I got an email from someone earlier, and they said they can't make it with the subject line of "Snow Sorry." How do you reply to that? What's the best answer? What do you guys got? Snow problem. With that, I think it's the host's prerogative to have the best session to himself, so I feel very fortunate and jealous that, jealous? Jealous of yourself. Jealous of myself. I'm jealous of myself. I had the best job. It's been a pleasure to host everybody here, pleasure to interview two new friends. Are we all friends now? We've actually become, you guys know, we should both fast friends. We should both So with that, Shari, let's do quick introductions. I think everyone can read your bio. And as you do a quick introduction, maybe just open us up with one teaser in terms of what do you think in terms of this changing world of media? What are you seeing now?
What do I see? I see very entitled empowerment and the consumer changing their behavior and the companies having to respond to it in real-time basis.
I don't understand what you just said.
I see that changes in technology are really changing the way that we consume content, the way that we're living our lives, and if that companies don't respond to that in real time, up to date, with everything you need to know, when you need to know it, and when you need to act on it, they are not going to succeed in today's world.
That makes sense. Noah, same question. Quickly introduce yourself, and then maybe in this kind of changing world, what are you doing? What are you up to? What's something that you're seeing now in the market?
That's like six questions.
I know, it's
Hi, so I'm Noah Tishby. I'm an Israeli actress and producer and a political activist. I'm the first person to bring over a television show from Israel to the United States. It's a show called E-Treatment, which I sold to HBO, which was on for 3 seasons. We were nominated for 12 Emmys and Globes. And it started out basically an industry of Israeli formats in the US. I'll just explain what a format means. I'm not sure everybody here knows it. We're not in Hollywood at the moment. So basically, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is a British format that was brought into the US and adapted. It's the same kind of thing. What had happened basically is that Israel became the largest seller. Israel's the country that sells the most amount of formats in the US, more than any other country in the world, which is unbelievable considering it's a Hebrew-speaking country and has such a 7 and somewhat million people. In terms of changing the world of the media and changing how everything's changing, I couldn't agree with Shari more. What's happening right now is that people love stories. From Neanderthal days, we sat around the fireside and we told stories to each other. This is how reality is created. So that's never going to change, but what is changing is how the consumer is actually consuming those stories. So that is what's adapting so fast. It's the laws of accelerating return. It's doubling itself every minute, basically. So whichever company that can't keep up with that is going to stay behind.
So Shari, maybe build on that. If things are changing that rapidly, what are the business implications of that as a media company or as an investor?
Well, I think one of the things that we really look at, and I think you're right, it's all about storytelling. And all that's changing is the way that stories are being told. And when we talk about content now, we're not just talking about traditional media content and TV shows and movies. We're talking about information. We're talking about the ability to act on that information and the content that needs to be delivered in order to act on that information. So I think that companies need to understand today that the consumer has always wanted to have what they want, when they want it, where they want it, how they want it, but technology has now enabled them to have exactly that. And if companies don't keep up with that and find a way to engage their consumers, to give them the information that they want, at the time that they're making a decision, in real time, they're going to lose their consumer. So I think developing loyalty among your customers is more important than it ever was before. And I think giving them the information in real time when they're ready to make a purchase or ready to make a decision about something, you need to be there. Because right now, technology allows your competitor to be there like that. And decisions are being made in a moment. I mean, I can go on, but the truth is, one tweet changes your world. One picture of an ant in your soup, that restaurant is out of business. And you need to be able to respond in real time to everything that's going on.
Now, can you talk a little bit as a producer also, what are the implications from the content you're creating on this expanding universe of double screen, multi-screen, mobile, etc.? How does that make you think differently about content?
It makes us think differently in a lot of different ways. Obviously, first of all, you look at each format, television show, story, whether it's a TV show or a movie or a Broadway musical, and think immediately of ancillary usages. So I'm kind of going, all right, so I have this Broadway musical that I'm working on, and the casting of the lead show, the lead star, can be a great reality show that then can actually utilize other screens and other people and the users, because I think one of the things that is also altering right now is that this is true democracy. I mean, the content creation was taken away, was confiscated from the big media companies and the big producers or the small producers, and it's in the hands of every Harlem Shake creator and Gundam style. So whatever is the story, whatever is the content that is happening, it's not only done by quote-unquote professionals. It's the story, it can be done by everybody. So we all need to be super quick.
I just need to say that it has not been confiscated from these bigger media companies. I think there's still a role for that premium content, and they're still delivering a type of content.
I work with you.
Exactly.
I couldn't.
We're very on the same side.
Very much on the same side. But we're trying to make sure that content creation is also done by people that are professional.
And without a doubt, though, there is a real place for the content that's coming up from the consumer that is really premium content. Does mean something different today. I mean, when people here talk about TV now, it used to be really talking about the television. But when they're talking about TV content, they're really talking about premium content, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on television or whether it's on some other platform.
Yeah, and you see so many examples. Like last season, there was a show called, sorry, can I swear here? Okay, Shit My Dad Says. It was a Twitter account.
How would you say that in Hebrew?
So Shit My Dad Says.
You get to swear in two languages.
Account.
Yeah, the other languages you can swear?
Yes, no, seriously. I mean, really, we're respecting the audience. It was a Twitter account that had 72 tweets before it got made into a TV show. Just like that. So that's something that was taken from the consumer.
Shari, part of your world also deals with movie theaters. What's going on in that business? It strikes me like movies on one hand have become closer to us, and on one hand become further from us given the abundance of downloadable content, short form, YouTube, etc.
Well, I think that's another thing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, people have been talking about the gloom and doom of movie theaters when we had, remember video cassettes and DVDs and on demand. And in fact, you find that people who watch movies on one platform tend to watch it on another. But without a doubt, the availability of film on multiple distribution platforms, at any given point in time that the consumer has access to, has changed our business. So from my perspective, I look at two things. Creating an experience inside the movie theater that gives people a compelling reason to go to the movies.
Wait. What does that mean?
Oh, what that means, it starts with alcohol. So we have.
And it ends with alcohol.
And it ends with alcohol.
The solution to cause of all these problems.
In fact, it is the solution to many problems. But the truth is, we've created, an experience called the Cinema Deluxe, where people can come before a movie, have access to a private bar and lounge. We serve dinner and drinks during the movie. We have a place where people can sit afterwards. We have the usher come in, they take your coat, they show you to your seat.
Back massage?
We have rear sitting. Well, we toyed with that, but in the next theater that we're opening, we're going to have a footrest and everything else. And my model's going to be, if you fall asleep during the movie, come back and see the movie again at half price. But it's about creating an experience inside the theater. And the other thing that we do that has really changed is using all of this technology to understand who our consumer is. We're integrating our POS system so that when you buy a ticket, we know what you buy in concessions, what movies you
Do you know why they call them POS systems?
Why don't you tell me? Point of sale. Uh-oh. I don't know if that's why they call it that. I'm going to go with the legitimate thing. But we're really integrating that, and we're figuring out how do we reach out to our consumer, not only when they're in the theater, but when they're outside the theater. So how do we figure out what demographics? We do specific programming for women's night out, for sports, for opera. So you really need to understand who your consumer is and reach out to them with the content that they want to know about, and not the stuff they really don't care about.
Great answer. No, I want to switch gears for a moment. Besides being an actress, you have a couple things you do in terms of activism. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in that world and some of the causes that might be personal.
So there are a lot of causes that are personal for me, but the one that I took upon myself is the one that I feel strongest about, and I feel that I can contribute the most. There's a saying, so you do what's close to you. My personal cause is the Middle East and Israel advocacy, especially online advocacy. I've been kind of watching what's been going on in online world in terms of Israel bashing. It became a bit of a sport. And to my understanding, regardless of the fact that I am an Israeli, and I was born and raised in Israel, and a Zionist and believe in the existence and the safety of the state of Israel, I actually think that having Israel there and having Israel safe is the world's objective. Like, we really need that particular modern, democratized country that shares the same values as the US and Europe and the rest of the modern world to be there in the Middle East as a buffer for craziness that is happening and probably not going to stop in the near future, unfortunately. So I have a political nonprofit called Act for Israel. We started this after the Advancit, and we do our best to combat what's going on online. It's pretty harsh, so it's a tough job. You got to start somewhere, and I try to speak as much as I can and give my perspective from the Israeli-American girl perspective as to why this is important, what Israel is about. I always say that Israel is the country with the largest gap, the biggest gap between perception and reality. So we're all here and we know what Israel is about in terms of innovation and technology and startups and finance and the contribution that Israel gives to the world in all those areas, including entertainment and content and storytelling. Unfortunately, that story is not coming out and not being communicated to the masses. So that's what I...
One follow-up question on that. For those in the audience that might be interested in getting more involved, want to do something in 30 seconds, what's a potential next step for anyone in this room that wants to learn more or perhaps, again, engage with you on that front?
Well, catch me up and we'll have a chat, but it's really easy to get involved, especially with Israel advocacy online. You can look at the website, you can follow our Twitter account, and it really is a matter of putting the word out there. You were saying before, what are you going to do to better the world? I think that is something that if you have, whether you're Israeli or not Israeli, Jewish or not Jewish, if you actually believe that there's something wrong about this, that judging Israel, which I'm not saying Israel is always right, it has nothing to do with it, but judging Israel without understanding the context of the Middle East at large is just it's an uninformed decision. You can't do it. So speak up as much as possible. Don't hide. I think a lot of people choose to kind of, I'm not getting along with that, it's too much of a problem. But it's not. You got to stand for what's right.
On a personal note, you've been involved with Advancit Capital, which I think is a relatively new organization by brand for many people in this room. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then in terms of what are the key objectives and goals and activities that you're involved with.
Well, I started a company, co-founded a company recently, actually with my son-in-law, who's here in the audience.
Where are you, Jason?
Jason.
Jason, there he is.
And we both decided to leave our day jobs and enter the world of investing in early-stage companies in media, entertainment, and technology. Because the truth is, while I think traditional media is going nowhere, it's going everywhere. It's not going away. I think that the world of digital and the world of innovation and entrepreneurship is what is going to sustain traditional media going forward, give it opportunities, and open up new opportunities. So we have been investing in early-stage companies in media, entertainment, and technology. We look at companies that deal with the issue that I raised before. How do you stay in touch with your consumer? How do you deliver relevant content in real time? So we've looked at content marketing. We've looked at technologies like Sonic Notify, which delivers through inaudible sound, can deliver a message at any point in time. It can be through your TV, it can be in a stadium, it can be in a store when you're ready to make a purchase. We've looked at companies that are involved in innovative platforms for publishing. As you know, right now people want access to content. They don't care if they buy it or if they rent it. We've seen in the music industry companies like Spotify and Pandora. We've seen in content, TV content, I use that word carefully, companies like Hulu that are out there and Netflix. But there really hasn't been any innovative model in the publishing business. So we look at certain subscription models where you have content delivered to you, books delivered to you on a monthly basis. Companies like Oyster, which does that, Speakaboos, which has an interactive model, and most importantly, focus on online video. So we've invested in a couple of companies that are multi-channel networks on YouTube, as well as the technology to help drive revenue. And we look at anything that's really going to be able to be innovative in some of the traditional businesses that we both have backgrounds in. I talked fast enough?
No, that was great. I like it. It's good cadence for us here.
Can I add something to the media not going anywhere? Media, as we know, it is not going anywhere. Very much like, this is a good trivia question. Do you guys know what the first video that was aired on MTV?
Video killed the radio star.
There you go. Video killed the radio star. Now, if you understand a little bit about the music industry, we know that it's still radio that drives hits, like other than again Gangnam Style.
Actually,
so it's not going anywhere in the sense that that didn't die. It just kind of transformed.
I remember, and I can't remember the statistic, but I was in a board meeting at CBS, and it was talking about how many people engage with radio on a daily basis. It was something like 80 or 90%, whether it's in your car or somewhere else. In some ways, more than any other content out there. And people did kill that radio stuff. So you're absolutely
may have died, but the radio's still around.
It is. Stars do come and go. I'm sorry.
They do. I'm hard to be sorry, so that's fine.
No, did I hear you have a startup too as well?
I do. I dabble in technology. No, I'm kidding. I'm quite obsessed with technology, actually. I am. So I'm fascinated by technology. I am an early adapter. I'll try to jump on whatever trend and just test it out. I am also very much interested in singularity and everything that Greg Kurzweil does. I find it unbelievably fascinating. So I have pitched a lot of startup companies, and I don't get involved unless it's something that I can actually feel like I can contribute something to. So there's the new thing that we just tested out in beta this week, actually, and apparently we're in Times Square. I just got a photo of this, and the LA Times about a couple of days ago as well. So it's an application that turns your Facebook feed into an Entertainment Tonight type of TV show. It's called Your Show. You can download it and check it out. It's pretty awesome.
Cool. So I have a thing that I like to call my 60-second MBA. People heard me do this yesterday. So I'm going to ask a question in 60 seconds. You have to answer. You guys ready? No.
Does it matter?
Do 60 seconds.
Do I have a choice?
We're 60 seconds.
Shari, you're on Shark Tank, and someone says, or you say, I should join your board because. Why should you join their board?
Because I will give you a very passionate focus on what it is that you want to do. I can tell you where I can add value. I don't want to waste your time. Don't waste our time. We want to be strategic capital. We want to make a difference in your business. We want to help you develop your business. We want to help you market your business. Call us when you need us. We will be there.
Ready?
Oh, not really.
Hummus tastes like?
Heaven.
Wow.
I'm in heaven.
That's really your answer?
That's really my answer. No. Okay. The reason you should eat hummus is as follows. Not only is it a very ancient dish that when you're actually experiencing the Middle East, you feel like you're there and you know that you're there. Combined with pita bread or anything that is wheat derived, hummus and wheat creates a perfect protein. So it's not just, there's a misconception of hummus being bad for you. It's actually exactly the opposite. So when you look at hummus, you see chicken, it's healthier, it's better for you, and look at the people in the Middle East. People in Israel are beautiful. That's a hummus. My bar. I'm like, oh God.
All right, Shari, follow-up question. This is actually a half.
And in 60 seconds.
60 seconds. This is a half-loaded question, though. We talked yesterday about how the state of Massachusetts has some stuff going on with Israel. In 60 seconds, what is Mass doing to promote cross-border work with Israel?
We have an amazing governor in Massachusetts.
By the way, Shari's from Boston. Could you tell?
And a Patriots fan. But no. Whoa, we went to right back in 1 minute, too. I'll take you on that one. Okay. But seriously, when the governor came into office in Massachusetts, he decided that the way to create development in the state was to really focus on entrepreneurship and innovation. And that was going to be his mission in Massachusetts. And when he decided to expand internationally, he actually spoke to several people and decided what country should I focus on. And he decided to focus on Israel. And that was one of the first countries that he went to. We now have over 100 companies, that were founded from Israel, based in Massachusetts, that we're working with. We have started a partnership called the Mass Israel Innovation Partnership, where we really introduce startup companies in Israel to the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Massachusetts. We bring them over for 4 months of a program that's run in conjunction with MIT, where they really get a lot of training and background. Although I have to tell you, from everything I've seen and everything I know, I can't imagine a country with more innovation and entrepreneurship than what I have seen over the last several months of being in this business than what I saw today. And to your point, about what are we going to do. I left here last night and I made a decision that I'm going to go to Israel and I'm going to take a day and I'm going to meet with 10 companies in our space and see if we can find a way to finally do business in a way that makes sense. What's going on there is amazing.
That's great. All right, Noah, you ready? Last one, then we'll go back to normal questions. The way to make content go viral is...
There is no way to make content go viral. The last thing that you want to do as a creator of anything or as a creator of a company is figure out, like, you don't create a company in order to create an exit. You create a great company, so you create a great story. Don't ever think about, I'm going to create a video that is going to turn viral because of this. If you advertise something, that's fine. But if you're telling your own personal story, do not look at it. Make sure that it's personal. Make sure that it comes from your own point of view, that it's unique. Do not think about anything else other than telling a great story, and then pray the Lord and the gods of the internet that it actually goes where it needs to go.
I just have to say, we were in a meeting yesterday with a company that we were looking at, and they actually made the comment, the last thing you want is content that goes viral, because you don't make any money on it. So take a look at it a little bit differently.
Fascinating.
But if you have a dog or a baby, that'd be helpful.
In life or for content?
Oh, just for content, press one. Just for viral, YouTube, cats, let a cat do something silly.
Yeah. All right, Noah, so Shari shared what she learned in the last day and a half. You're Israeli, you breathe and live and kind of think of this stuff all the time. What have you learned in the last day and a half? That's a serious question.
What have I learned in the last day and a half? Again, it always inspires me, and it's always really exciting to see, to be around the innovation that is coming out of Israel. This is obviously something that I was born and raised in Israel, so it's something that I'm very well aware of and been living through and working in that space for many, many years. But every time I come in contact with conferences like this, with people that either are Israelis and do incredible stuff or are non-Israelis and doing amazing things within the Israeli community, it is unbelievable what we have in Israel in terms of innovations. And it's really exciting every time for me to be in the space of people like you. And to, again, not that I need a reminder of this, but it's, again, every time it makes me so proud to be Israeli. So proud.
Shari, my last question for you. Are you and Noah going to be friends after this?
We are going to be friends.
Yay!
And we're going to get together in Israel, and we're going to find good things to do together on all the important issues that we discussed today.
After that pitch? That was a good pitch, come on.
Well, I'm going to share something really personal. I'm allergic to nuts and sesame seeds, so hummus would probably kill me. So when you offer it, make sure you know exactly what you're doing and why.
I'm not going to have hummus with you in Israel. I'm not taking that.
So we, right after this, we're going to actually do something very cool. There's like church bells and whistles coming after this. So we've got a minute and a half left. Shari, with our last minute and a half. Final thoughts, closing remarks, parting thoughts for this wonderful audience.
All I can say is the future is in innovation and entrepreneurship. And if we want to make a difference and we want to change the world, whether we're looking at nonprofit activities, whether we're looking at the businesses, whether we're looking at maintaining relationships, it all comes down to that. And, you know, I once spoke at Google, and I remember, you know, here I am at Zeitgeist, and I think I spoke after Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I didn't know how overwhelming it was at the time, because it was very early on. But I sat in a room, and I said, you know, here we are all talking about the latest in technology. And at the end of the day, this will be the final thought. It all comes down to relationships. I talk about what I do in the theater. We're trying to build something with our customers. We're trying to build a relationship. We talk about the need to connect with your consumer. You're trying to build a relationship. Never overlook how important that is with all the technologies out there. And never forget, meet somebody, have a martini, go to the movies.
Yeah, what do you got today?
I know. What else? In the context of summing up everything, I'm going to just add on to that as well. Just like everything is relationships, every story you tell is about humans. So we are essentially the same. Doesn't matter where we're from, we're exactly the same. We're moved by the same things. We operate the same things. We make what happened, you know, with our mothers and our fathers, the same thing, and our brothers and our parents and families, and we're all, you know, sometimes it occurs as if we're sitting around and you kind of think nobody knows what my problems are. Just consider that in this room, we all have the same problems. It's a variation. And we're on the bottom. Probably have the same problems. So that's
Is that unifying?
It's unifying. It's absolutely unifying. And we're coming to create a new company, a startup, a story, a content, whatever it is. Come from your heart, and you'll hit other hearts as well. As long as it's authentic, it's going to land.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. All right, so with that, I'm going to thank our panel. We have a guest speaker, the deputy mayor, is running a couple minutes late, so I asked everyone to bear with me. We have a very fun final close. We're going to kind of leapfrog a little bit of our agenda, so if you don't mind, we're going to set up for this. Are the Formlabs folks here? I think that is a no. A stop for you here?
Speaking of new technologies, if we have a couple of minutes,
Yeah.
hang on. Richard, is that you? Can you take a photo, because if it's not on Instagram, it doesn't exist?
Found the one blood eye in the room.
Oh, really? Hey, just horizontally, maybe? It's better for Instagram. Do you know that? It's when you cut the center door.
I mean, this has been a really emotional conversation.
We actually don't know yet. We've become like super friends.
Sure.
Awkward.
Yes. It's just because we have time. You guys don't need to sit around for this, really.
Okay, no, really. Guys, thank you again so much for this trip. Really important.